Hey, this is a very selfish video, gonna be honest. I recently realized that I've been in the coaching industry for almost a decade. And so I was doing some reflecting on that. And then the other thing that's been happening in my life is I'm hearing some of these trends that I thought were out of date coming back into the coaching industry. And so I'm realizing it's kind of like fashion, where one generation thinks that bell bottoms are silly and then the next generation thinks we should bring them back. I'm realizing that those trends are also happening in the coaching industry. So I really just want to document like the hardest part about having an online coaching business is figuring out what you sell, packaging your offer, figuring out how to charge people for your expertise or for the experience you want them to have. And again, I've been hearing things like, okay, membership sites and apps and high ticket coaching is dead, and we should all be thinking about how to use AI, like tech, instead of being coaches. And so all that noise just really inspired me to think about looking at, Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. And so I wanted to document, okay, what are the things that I've learned in these 10-year span? Because I've tested things like masterminds, a high ticket, low ticket, hourly. And there's been a reason why every 18 months I feel like I need to change my offer. And it's mostly because I learned something every step of the way. But it's also because I never had a real business. I was always just kind of putting things together, throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing like, will people be interested in this experience, or is this how I should package and sell my offer? And I just want to document it for myself because I feel like now I'm in a place where I have not changed my offer in a year and a half and things are humming, and we're actually able building an institution, building something much bigger than just me exchanging my time for money. And I want to remember those things. And if you're just starting your coaching career or you've been in the game for 30 years, you are going to be able to see yourself somewhere along here, because I've been busy. I feel like I've tried all the things. And here I am in 2025 feeling like I finally cracked the code for something that's sustainable. So I want to share that with you today. I'm Hannah. I'm the CEO of Dream Life Consulting, where we help excellent coaches get 3 to 5 new high-ticket clients every single month using our systems for client acquisition. And the biggest part most coaches feel like they're missing is the marketing and the sales and the lead gen. And that's what we do inside of our program, is we give you proven ways to generate and close deals. But the hardest part that most coaches don't even have the time to think about is fulfillment, is the offer. And I'm someone who was so focused on just getting new clients for the first half of my coaching career that the offer was always a second thought. And I just kind of reacted to, oh, you want to pay me hourly? Okay, let's do that. Okay, you want to come to my yoga class? Okay. And so I want to take this kind of bird's eye view, or this flyover perspective of all the things I've tried, because only a few have worked sustainably. So if you're someone who is multi-passionate like me, and you feel like you could come up with a new program any day of the week, and you've got a whole graveyard of courses in your closet full of trainings and books and tools and things that you could give people, but you haven't figured out exactly how to package it and sell it consistently, then I think you're going to get a lot out of this, as well as me just documenting this for my future self to remember that even when the trends come back and everyone says, let's go low ticket, let's do memberships, let's do apps, what I've learned along the way to not be changing my offer every 18 months and not be wondering how do I position myself or question whether or not my offer is any good. So let's run it back to 2016 when I learned the word entrepreneur. I had no intention of starting my own business or being a life coach. I was actually an academic advisor in Wisconsin. And of course, in academic advising, there is a lot of energy around goal setting. I would literally give students a list of 30 majors and ask them, what do you want to study in college so that you can be what you want to be when you grow up? And I did a lot of counseling and kind of life planning around, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that was exciting until I realized how the education system is set up, and that these young people really had limited options, right? Okay, so how is anthropology going to help you make the impact that you want to make in the world? And so it was a limited reach as far as, mentoring people or really getting the most out of folks. I have a degree in psychology, and I've just always been so obsessed with how do humans make decisions, because that also impacts the results they get in life. So I was working within the matrix, or within the academic world, and needed some sort of outlet for myself. Even just working in a cubicle full time did not fit my personality. And I started getting into yoga, just very, young professional, innocent, lunchtime, after school hobby. And I really got into yoga. Okay, something about my personality too is if I can't just do a little bit. I love going all in on things. So before I knew it, I was in a yoga certification program, putting in 500 hours to be a registered yoga teacher. And in that program, again, I just took it outside of my full-time job. I learned the word entrepreneur because other folks in this program had their own businesses. Were thinking about using yoga to build something. Some of them wanted to host retreats. Some of them had a network marketing business. And I learned a whole lot in that space. But as a new yoga teacher, I just went out and I started hosting classes and saying, hey, pay me about $10 an hour. Thinking if I get 10 people to a class, I'm making $100 an hour. That's pretty good. And so I did that for a few months, and I even got some gigs teaching yoga inside of other spas and things like that. But I quickly realized, and a lot of health coaches and personal trainers and even just one-on-one experts that we work with talk to us about how frustrating it is to spend 45 minutes or an hour with someone but not know what they do with the rest of it. And yoga taught me that this is a lifestyle, and I wanted to make a bigger impact. So I started, doing this yoga thing, and one of my friends did say, hey, Hannah, I think that my network marketing company could be a really good fit for you, because you could add selling health products to your yoga classes to, add another stream of income. And it made total sense. So I go ahead and I do that. And so I'm charging hourly, and I have the product being added to my hour of time together. But what I quickly realized here is that I was a commodity. Now, I didn't know this at the time, of course, but the commodity meaning that people could compare me to other yoga teachers. They could go get other protein powder if they wanted to. And so I wasn't really getting any traction, right? And if you've ever tried to sell a product in person, or have people come into a room and do some sort of shared experience, it's a lot of work. I was, bugging my friends and family and chasing people around, just being will you host a party for me? Can you help me? Have any referrals? And I learned a lot about how not to do business. And all of that was really just my, first business school experience. And one of the textbooks that this MLM shared with me was The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And the success principles are incredible. Those chapters in that book have completely changed my life and got me into action in the aligned direction. But the other thing I noticed in this book by Jack Canfield is that on the front of the cover it said America's #1 success coach. And the way that he was talking throughout the book, his point of view or his voice in the book really stood out to me he was an expert. And so I even ended up paying $16,000 to go through his Train the Trainer program in 2017, 2018, because I wanted to take this full time. I wanted to be a success trainer. I wanted to coach people on something bigger than just what's your college degree going to be in, and let's do yoga for an hour and, to have some protein powder afterwards. And it was in working with Jack Canfield that I learned how much easier it is to sell a transformation than a transaction. Because Jack's programs and what he was teaching were around helping people get the results that they want in life. And yoga could be a part of that, and you might have protein powder along the way. But I realized that I had been selling transactions. But in this transformational life coaching space, I needed to sell a dream outcome. I needed to think about putting together programs or services that actually changed people's lives. And again, personal trainers, health coaches, other, psychologists, people that are used to charging hourly, how much you wonder about when people leave your office and how they have 23 other hours in the day to go mess up the work that you've done. And so this is when I learned how to put together a transformational coaching program. However, and I started thinking about charging high ticket. So Jack's program was $16,000. Other coaches in the room were charging like $10,000. And I thought, okay, well, what would be like a $3,000 dream outcome? And again, I started thinking about the transformation. Yes, I'm going to give tools along the way, but I started looking for people, not just putting myself out there, not just putting a yoga class out there, but I started looking for people who I knew I could help. Now, the strategy at the time was to do speaking engagements or go after big corporate contracts. So after I had put together like a $3,000 offer, I worked that strategy that they gave us, which is basically to pitch yourself. Pitch yourself to speaking gigs, pitch yourself to corporations, get in the room, give this talk, sell things in the back of the room. But I kept changing what I was selling in the back of the room. I wrote a book, and that kind of sold, but it wasn't really that much money to even pay for attending the conference. So then I thought, okay, I need something that's higher ticket. So let me put together just like a do-it-yourself course for $1,000. And I sold a couple of those, but I was still disappointed with the engagement. And then I looked online and then I did some research, and most online courses only have a 3% completion rate. So that's not actually changing people's lives or getting them the success that they're looking for. So then I started selling one-on-one coaching, and I would just say, come back, reach out, we can talk about what goals you're working on. And it was just very vague. And so I had people coming to me after these speaking gigs saying, hey, here's my dream. And I did charge them $3,000 for one-on-one coaching. And I even had some corporations have me come in and talk, and they paid me to do that. And I thought maybe I could keep working with some of your employees one-on-one. But it was all very frenetic, and I couldn't get traction behind any one of those things because I had a book, I had a course, I had coaching, I had for your teams, and it was just hard to get traction anywhere. Plus, this strategy of pitching yourself to PR and traveling to speak is incredibly expensive and draining. And so I got burnt out on that whole, okay, I'm gonna go be the expert, show up in person, dazzle you, make sales at the back of the room. And I was so burnt out on that, but one of my peers inside of the Canfield training group was working on his online coaching business and needed a success coach to join his team. So I went and worked inside of another corporation just doing the coaching part. And this was so exciting at the beginning because I just got to show up and coach. I didn't have to think about pitching from the stage. I didn't have to think about my marketing message. I didn't have to worry about personal brand. I just got to show up in my zone of genius and coach. Plus, I got the inside look at how to run a multi-7-figure coaching business. And this was the season where I realized that having a real business does not mean the same thing as having an offer. We have offers, okay? I can teach you yoga. I have this tool, But all of that is just spaghetti, and there's nothing really consistent. It's not a real business. And so working inside of this corporation, I learned a whole lot about how we have to show up, not just as coaches who offer a transformation, a dream outcome, but also as leaders and CEOs and business people. So the bottleneck for this company was the fact that they were getting people results, people were paying high ticket, but there was still a lot of one-on-one attention. So at one point, I had 80 clients on my roster that I was fitting in one-on-ones with. And that was not the lifestyle that I wanted. So it was difficult to leave the organization because there were so many nice things about just relying on whoever you bring me. Okay, you'll pay me every month, but I had to leave because of my soul calling. And I think a lot of coaches understand this. If you don't, then this isn't for you, but Tony Robbins talks about the sleeping giant within. And I've always had that where, I get a taste of academia and I see that there's just so much better we can be doing. And I get a taste of, pitching from stages, and there's just got to be a better way than burning myself out. And then working inside of that organization, I just knew I wanted to be the boss. And so I left that organization with a ton of insight into not only, how to guarantee people results and coaches, also understanding how to run a multi-7-figure business, also understanding what it actually takes to solve real problems. And the big thing that I learned in this organization is that it is so much easier to play big than to play small. Because in those 80 coaches I was coaching, some of them had a really hard time getting behind tangible outcomes. There were mindset coaches and spirituality people, and they struggled so much more than the people who were thinking about dream outcomes, measurable success, getting people a true transformation. And so I saw all of these things. And when I left the organization, I had a non-compete that said I couldn't coach for a couple of years. So all of these factors combined had me go out on my own as a CEO. I said, okay, I can't be a coach. I've learned these things about business. And the key thing that I see for coaches and experts is that they need to start running their organization like a real company and not just changing our offers all of the time. Because this organization had the same offer for 8 years, right? I realized, okay, it's not about changing what I offer all the time. It's about running a real business. And I thought, okay, what's the biggest bottleneck for these coaches that we work with to run their business? And it was marketing and content and personal branding, which I happen to love. So I left the organization in 2020 and I started my own Done For You boutique. Now, it's an agency, but I didn't like saying agency, and I want you to know boutique because my whole goal was to only work with elites. And I know a lot of other coaches have this desire too, where you want your program to be in demand. You only want to work with the best. And having already experienced working with almost 100 people at one time, I definitely wanted to be highly selective and only work with the best. But the other thing that I needed to do was to offer something more than just coaching, because I couldn't be a coach thanks to my non-compete, which was still legal in California in 2020, and I wanted to be in integrity with that. So I started offering Done For You marketing, copywriting, sales page creation, social media strategies, actually giving people exactly what to post, because I thought that's what coaches need to actually focus on being a real business owner and create a program. Not always be changing the offer. So much of the work I did in the marketing was like, hey, we need to stick to one thing, have a cohesive message, build something that's sustainable. And I remember talking to one of my mentors at that time about the new copywriting offer, and she's like, okay, so what's the dream outcome? And I was like, well, they have to stress less, they don't have to worry about this, they don't have to do all of these things. And she was like, well, what about results? And I said, oh, I don't want to be responsible for results. I don't want to do the copywriting where you have to track, okay, did this bring in sales? I just want to do the copywriting that's about personal branding and putting themselves out there and creating awareness. And she was like, okay, so you're just going to do copywriting and have people pay you on retainer. And I was like, oh, pay me on retainer. What's that? I didn't know this business model. And she's like, well, you can just charge them a monthly fee to do that service for them. And she's like, I would recommend doing it for a year because that's going to give you a lot of security as the business owner. And so selfishly, I was just like, okay, that checks all of the boxes. Perfect. I will go ask people to pay me a retainer. I will do services for them, and we'll just stay busy. So in this year-long relationship where I'm going to be doing things for you, I had a very different client relationship. The dynamic felt incredibly different than it did when I had all of those clients and I was showing up as a coach inside of a program. And honestly, these elites that I attracted and I sold them on, hey, here's the things you don't have to do, here's how good it's gonna feel, here's how I'm gonna take care of you, it became incredibly draining. and I was obviously at my computer a lot more doing the done for you stuff. I did hire a team to help me with fulfillment, but there was just a much bigger like operational drag and attitudes, if I'm being honest. These clients expected me to just do things for them because that's what I sold them on, done for you copywriting. So they would just get this copy delivered to them. They didn't have to stay busy with it, but then they got lazy and they would just look at everything I did and poke holes in it or ask questions instead of actually changing. They weren't transforming. And that's why it was a frustrating offer for me to have as someone who was so committed to growth and what do you want to be when you grow up and success principles and human psychology. Now I didn't have people actively participating because it was a done for you offer. And I see other coaches do this as well. They think, okay, I'm just going to go in. I want to be better than a consultant. I want to be better than a coach. So I'm going to go do the trainings. I'm going to go help these people and do it for them. But that's not transformation. And the other thing that I realized is that if you want to work with elite people, then you always need more elite people. And there's only so many high performers who need a copywriter for their coaching business on LinkedIn this month. And so I didn't have enough viable market to keep this business growing in the direction that I wanted it to. And after almost a year and a half of running that, it started to fall apart. And hiring team and trying to keep it all just kind of afloat, I met my business partner, Ore. And I thought I just needed a way to figure out how to get more elites, okay? I knew I shouldn't be charging hourly. I knew I didn't want to just go after big contracts. I knew I didn't want to just rely on referrals or what some other company brought me. I really wanted a way to own my own thing. And at the same time, my non-compete was up and California nullified that law. So I was free in 2023 to think about what I actually wanted to create. And I thought I just needed more elites, more volume, more people to know about this done for you service. But when the non-compete was lifted and when I met my business partner, Ore, and we started looking at what's actually going to make this business grow, I realized I wanted to come back to true coaching. But we needed to build a real business model around it. Not just an offer, not just a quick retreat, not just something that I'm going to do for 1 year and then get bored of or then feel like nobody wants, but actually do it sustainably. And this is where we broke down, Ori and myself. We went back to the basics and we thought, okay, Hannah, yes, you've tried a lot of things. I felt like I had known a lot about business up until this point, but we had to go back to the basics. And this is the piece I wish I had every step of the way, to not get distracted by every shiny object or every hourly or every retreat idea that crossed my mind. And this comes down to really honing your messaging. Because I can do a lot of things. I could do it for you. I could train a trainer group. I could go teach you yoga. But I needed to figure out the messaging that was going to keep attracting elite types of people, but also have them show up coachable, ready to really get to that dream outcome. Because I wanted to be in integrity. I didn't just want to be giving a 45-minute feel-good class or a document full of Instagram posts and hope that they do something with it in the direction of their dreams. I really did want to start to get behind results just because I had been so burnt out on not getting people results. So this is when I learned that it is much easier to play big than it is to play small. And so we went back to the basics, this time thinking bigger, this time not considering my selfish, like, oh, I don't feel like getting behind results. Because that burned me out and it made me lose sleep at night wondering, am I in integrity or am I just these people's friend, right? So here are the 7 questions that will get you to your marketing message and help you solidify your offer in 2025. These are the questions I wish I had asked myself every step along the way when I was changing my offer every 18 months and wondering why no one wanted to buy it. Number 1, identify your audience or your market, okay? Coaching, yes, everyone can benefit from it, but it's only for high performers. It's only for people with a problem. It's only for people who actually want to change. So number 2, you need to identify a pain. What is their biggest pain? Okay, people either buy themselves out of pain or into a gain. And so if you can, most people think about their negative things, the things that they don't want in life. So think about the problems that you have solved for other clients and what is it that people are actually walking around wondering about. You know these things. They're simple questions, but they're not always easy to answer when you've just been banging your head against your ideas in your head and maybe I should make a course on hypnosis and all these things that you can do inside of your head. It needs to be funneled into a business model. So number 1, identify your audience. Number 2, write down their biggest pain points. Number 3, identify how you help them remove it. Remember, you don't just want to sell a transaction or a commodity. You actually want to sell a transformation because it is so much easier to play big than it is to play small. Then number 4, find that dream outcome. So what is that gain that they're running towards? So is it more profitability? Is it weight loss? Is it a better sex life? Is it fitting into their clothes better? Is it showing up into any room with confidence? Is it being able to enroll 10 clients every single month? What's the thing they really want? Then number 5, identify how you help them achieve it. This is where your tools come in. Number 5, question of 7. Not number 1, I'm going to tell you about all of my tools, because then you're a commodity and you're not positioned as an expert. They're just going to go look at you like, do I want that protein powder? Is this yoga class going to fit my schedule better? Should I just go to this speaker because they're cuter? Like they just compare you on whatever until you identify how you help them achieve it. Number 5, list out like those steps that people need to take. And it is always way more than just going to one yoga class, if we're being honest with ourselves, right? So then number 6, identify a specific segment of your market that can afford paying for your program. I had this struggle when I was speaking. People would pay a couple $100 to get into the room, but then they weren't thinking about investing again. And so that's not a great place to be trying to sell $3,000 one-on-one coaching. I learned I needed to break out of those kinds of circles and really think about who can afford the kind of coaching that I want to charge for. Because remember, it's way easier to sell something for $5,000 this way than it is to get $500 worth of protein powder off the shelf. And I know you don't have protein powder, but you have ebooks and education and modules and books that people can go get for free now. So we don't want to be putting ourselves out there around the things that we have to solve the problem, but you do need to know like what's the process. That is number 5, how you help them achieve it. Number 6 is identify that specific segment of your market. And then number 7 is about finding where they hang out. And I've mentioned to you, just pop-up yoga classes in my small town in Wisconsin attracted the people who were literally at the park right there. But today we have so many more resources for connecting with folks. In our program and with our clients, we use software and AI technology to directly target people who check these boxes. We can literally filter, like, how do we get in front of these people? Because I found that speaking and just posting content does not do enough when it comes to creating a sustainable business, but also, being able to build a real funnel or like a nurture sequence for folks who want to invest high ticket. I can't just be hosting parties in my grandma's basement anymore, right? So all of these are the steps that, I've gone through, and I hear people talking about maybe I should just charge one-on-one. Maybe I should just rely on referrals. Maybe I should just get coach clients farmed out to me from one of these coaching farms like BetterUp or something like that. Or then people will say, I'm just going to go elite. I'm going to go high ticket mastermind. It's going to have all these bells and whistles inside of the program. But the thing that I have come back to ever since I knew about it is high ticket coaching. Creating a 3 to 6 month transformational program that you can charge anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000 to $20,000. Some of our coaches charge that we work with, because you've actually answered these questions and you've actually thought about this like a real business. And no one's telling coaches to do this. So this is not your fault that you've just seen webinars and masterminds and spaghetti and thought, okay, I'll throw some things out there and see what lands. We have to do the strategic, behind the scenes business work to make sure that you don't feel like you're always having to change your offer, because it creates this cycle of putting things out there that you want, then the market doesn't want it because you didn't take the time to answer these questions. So nobody buys it. So you're back in your head questioning yourself if you're good enough. So you come up with some other random thing, and this cycle continues until you're burnt out, you don't have clients, you run out of money, and you're staring onto Instagram being like, okay, I guess I have to lower my prices, or I guess I have to go viral. And it's all noise. It's all noise. We just need to take 17 steps back and give ourselves a little business education. And I highly recommend running through these 7 questions, pen and paper. And if you want help sorting that out, this is what we do day in, day out. People come into my little cubicle now that we have the consulting firm. It's not an academic advising room anymore. But you do need mentorship. You do need someone to bounce this off of so you can do it once. And you don't bounce it off of yourself forever and ever and ever like I did. So as I mentioned, it was when my business partner sat down and we were able to get some perspective, go through these 7 questions, that he was able to say to me, okay, well, Hannah, based on your testimonials, you do get people massive results. And he said, you do get people massive results. Look, this person got 10 new clients in a month. This person had a 50K month. This person had a 20K month while they were getting married. And I was like, yeah, but they had this other thing, or they were also working with this person, or their team did this thing. And he said, okay, so you have these testimonials. You've only been doing the copy and some of these specific things for them. So what if you looked at those best performing clients and you figured out how to make sure everyone has that kind of team or consistency or technology that these clients who say that you were a part of their multi-million-dollar company and got them to 50K months, like, what if you got behind that? No thanks. I do not want to say that I help people make $50,000. I do not want to talk about how many clients they got. I just want to do my one thing, be in my zone of genius, stick to what I know, keep it easy on me, just do what I want to do, keep the offer about just copywriting. But when we kept trying to take that to market outside of my warm market to new audiences, it wasn't working. It was hard to sell this thing that I thought was good, that I wanted to sell. And so after literally months of kicking and screaming and saying, all right, I don't want to get behind a big dream outcome. I don't want to have a guarantee. I don't want to talk about results. Well, I fought that fight long and hard enough to exhaust myself and eventually come back to the table, come back to these 7 questions, and think much more deeply and much more big about what problems do I solve. I was playing so small, saying that, hey, you don't have to write your copy. Hey, you can take more naps. Hey, you're going to feel better about your personal brand. And so that only sold to a few elite people who were my people, but it wasn't growing my business. And I realized in this phase how it is so much more painful to play small and kick and scream about my limitations. I was fighting for my limitations. Than it is to get my full ass behind a big dream outcome. And so I went back to the 7 questions with Ore and I said, okay, all of our best performing coaches, they do have someone on their team that's helping them. They do have a system for generating leads. They do know how to close deals. And so this is when we brought in a commission-based salesperson to join the program. This is when we help them build out a sales process and make sure they know how to close. This is when we added in a manifesto and everything you can see. You can see the entire system we built down in our CEO video. But the whole point is that I did not want to get behind a big dream outcome. I didn't want my coaching to be for everyone. I didn't want to have to market myself like the bros and get behind all these like results and testimonials. But as soon as I decided that I'm going to solve real problems and I'm going to be held accountable for transformation, not just transaction, everything got easier. I started selling five-figure packages within a week. I had a 60K week. Then that showed me that it's way easier to sell something for $10,000 or $15,000 than it is for $500. But it's because I was willing to play big, not just in the pricing. That follows what's even more important, which is showing up as a full solution. Full solution. And so now we watch our clients kick and scream, not for months, but for a couple of minutes on our initial one-on-one messaging calls. Because in order to create your messaging, in order to help you reach out to the right people, in order to help you attract the right clients, you need a big dream outcome. If you want this to be sustainable, and if you want your offer to be an easy yes, that's our goal with all of our clients now. And it comes from being the full solution, not an hour of time, not a product that they're gonna need a new one of, not a membership that they're gonna run out of, not a quick fix, not a Band-Aid, but the full solution. So I'm also going to post those 7 questions in the comments so you can see the link to our full system and the questions that you want to ask yourself, because they're simple. You can go through it once like I did and just say, okay, I help them with copy. I solve their problem of not wanting to do copy. But if you think more deeply about what is the true transformation, what is the true dream outcome, we see our coaches turn around. Caitlin went from charging $80 an hour and having nobody buy it to having a 6K program that she's selling every single week. This is what happens when you decide to play big. And look, nobody starts out having it all figured out. Nobody starts out as the full solution. And so there is some delusion and some cognitive dissonance and some growing up that you need to step into. Because for me, I kicked and screamed. I don't want to get behind 30K months. I don't want to say 10 clients a month because all my limitations came up. But when I said, okay, I do see some of our clients doing this. And then I dissected everything that they had in their solution. It wasn't just the stuff I was comfortable with. I had to stretch to include AI and tech and automations because they need it. And we see this with our coaches. So Caitlin had to stretch and grow to not just have a machine or 45 minutes, but put together some trainings and have a touch point with clients and put them on Slack so they have a community and hold them accountable for actually doing the health work, not just testing themselves, but actually implementing. And that is the thing coaches need to be selling in 2025, implementation. Yes, you already know transformation if you've been in the game for long enough. You know you can't just be a transaction, but what you need to be selling in 2025 is implementation, because AI will tell them how to sleep better, where to get solutions, how to think differently even. We have apps and all these tools. So if you are a coach or an expert, you need to be thinking about a full solution and implementing it. So this is where it does take your zone of genius and your creativity to think about, how can I build a program that, yes, you're going to want to run in 5 years from now, not because it's your one thing you do and what you love. Like, I just loved writing copy in that season of my life, but would I feel that way in 5 years? I don't know. What I am going to feel like getting in 5 years are results. You guys, life just gets so much easier when you do the hard work and you get uncomfortable enough to say, I'm going to get behind results. These are going to be the coaches who stay in the game, who save the integrity of the industry, and who want to do business 5 years from now because you haven't burned out by burning other people out. And I have tried, and I have seen so many other coaches try offer after offer and continue to spin their wheels. And it hurts our clients when we only show up a little bit, when we don't follow through, when we don't hold them to a standard of transformation. This is how the coaching industry gets a bad rap. It's not because any of us individually are trying to deteriorate the quality of work. It's because we're trying to piecemeal, we're trying to segment, and it's hard when you want to just do little things. It's hard to get results. It's hard to stay in integrity. It's hard to rinse and repeat if you have to sell 500 memberships every single year. Like, that is going to burn it all down, the coaching paradigm. We need to shift into implementing full solutions. And this might be different than what they taught you in your coaching certification program, but I want you to think about your own transformation. In the programs or in the experiences or in the therapy sessions where people actually ask you to go take action, to be held accountable, to do more than just track your steps, but to look at your holistic health picture or your holistic financial picture or your holistic career picture, it takes way more than just piecemealing little offers together. And you are going to save yourself so much time and energy and start making a lot more money like I did when you get behind a full solution. And again, you're going to need help. You're going to need perspective. You're going to need these 7 questions and some time to think about it. Because when you're inside of the Barbie box, it's hard to know, should I package myself as a mindset expert or as a transformational healer, right? That's not simple work, but it is easy if you decide 2 things. Number 1, you're going to play big. If you're going to dream big. Right? Like, it's just so much easier to shoot for the moon and land among the stars. You've seen this in other parts of your life. You probably tell your own clients that. So number 1, decide to play big. And then number 2, decide to be in integrity. And if I'm really honest with myself, just doing copy and charging you because I feel like it is not in integrity. I took advice from people who told me that, it's okay to change your mind and be multi-passionate. But that's hobby advice. I wanted a real business. I wanted to build something bigger than me that didn't rely on, do I feel like it, or do I have a creative idea, or do I want to just spit out a course this week? I wanted to build something sustainable, that hums, that I could even remove myself from. And so you have to be willing to be in integrity to know it's not just about you and your energy, but it's about actually building curriculum, building solutions. And for the coaches who think about changing the world, solving real world programs, solving real world problems, you are going to be compensated well, because any business out there solves problems. That's why I have learned to love entrepreneurship, because we literally solve the world's problems with our businesses. So with deciding to play big and deciding to be in integrity and actually change the world, now I want you to go look at your offer. I want you to look at what you're sharing right now and ask yourself, does this pass the test? Does this play big, or is this just a little, I hope I'll do some resume reviews and get a cash injection? Right? Are you playing big? Are you changing lives? These are the things I want you to run your business model through, knowing it is a business model. It's not a cute hobby. If you want a cute hobby, go blog, charge people to read your text messages. I don't know, but if you actually want to change the world and be an integrity coach in 2025, package your expertise like the full solution. And you've got the resources linked below. Cheers to growth. I hope this is helpful. Whatever phase you're in, and whether you're hourly or a commodity, you get to skip all of that decade of learning and go right to what I'm telling you today. It's the most lasting business model in coaching. It's not going anywhere if you're in integrity. So let's get there.